Hi, it's Patrick, and welcome to my basement. Today I want to talk a little bit about local search. The best way to define local search is probably to compare it to regular search. If you put anything into a Google search, you're going to get back results. In a local search, you're putting something that's going to be close to you, a product or a service, and in return, you're expecting products and services that are somewhere within the commuting distance. One of the advantages for a smaller local business is that Google's going to make some assumptions here. Google's going to assume that for some products and services, you want something local. You're going to want something that's within a couple of miles, something you can drive to, some brick and mortar business that you can walk into. And because of that, Google's not going to show you a whole bunch of irrelevant searches from around the globe. They're only going to show you the stuff that is relevant to what you're looking for. When you do a search for a local product or a service, you're going to find the results in either the advertisements, the local services advertisements, the Google Maps, or Google organic search results. So it begs the question, how does Google determine which businesses to show for any given search? When Google makes that determination, there are three main factors that Google considers. The first is distance, the second is relevance, and the third, for lack of a better term, is notoriety. Distance is an obvious one. The closer your business is to the customer that's searching for it, the better off you're going to do in the search. That's where you're more likely to show up in the map pack. The map pack, again, is those three businesses that show up in the little map area of a Google search results page. Distance isn't the only factor, but every time Google's released an algorithm change lately, they've made distance an even bigger factor. They are making the decisions to show businesses based on the exact proximity your business is to the person who's searching for it. But even though distance is such an important factor, it doesn't mean your business is going to show up. You have to make sure that you've claimed your listing on Google My Business. That's number one. You've got to make sure you do a pretty decent job as a business. Number two, you've got to make sure that Google believes you are who you say you are. The other thing you're probably going to want to do is embed a map from Google Maps right onto your website. You're going to do that on your contact page, your contact us page, the page where you include your address, so that Google now has that signal showing that you are who you say you are, and that's where your business is located. There are other ways that you make sure that you're showing up for these distance-related searches. One way is just talk about the different towns and cities where your customers come from, using those specific words on your website. Another thing you can do is you can create directions lists, right? So if you have customers coming from different areas, you could create some really simple directions for people to follow to get to your business. Although distance is definitely the number one factor, and you'll often see that first position taken up by a business that is right there closest to you, it's not the only factor. The other factor, which should be fairly obvious, is the relevance of the search. If you're a barbershop or if you sell tools, you're going to show up in those searches. You're not going to show up in searches for florists and grocery stores. You're going to want to interact directly with Google for this. Using your Google My Business listing, you can put your products and services right in there so that when Google searches are given for those products and services, your business is more likely to come up. Another factor in relevance is the Google My Business posting feature. You can actually create posts to Google My Business and talk about the products and services you sell, especially if you've got a sale coming up or you've got a special event. Using that feature will definitely help you in those local search results. Be cautious that Google My Business posts expire about every single week, so you're going to want to make sure that you have a consistent strategy for addressing that. Obviously, the next step to optimizing the relevance factor is to make sure that your website clearly indicates the services and products that you provide. To a certain extent, Google has shown in the past that content length is important. So whatever products or services you offer on your website, make sure you've got good, well-formed content that's pretty long, talking about the products and services that you sell. Another factor to address when you're talking about the relevance of your business is to provide good photos, good videos, talking about or describing your product or service. You can input these directly into Google, or you can put them on your website, make sure they're optimized, make sure that they include good titles, good alt tags, to make sure that Google, which is a computer, can look at these images and determine what they are, and then Google will make the decision to show them in searches. The final factor which I want to talk about today is that idea of notoriety, or your standing with your business. What I'm getting at here is, are you doing a good job as a business? Google's going to make that determination for you. So here's some of the things that Google uses to make those considerations. One thing Google uses is what we call local citations. So those would be links back to your website or product or service from other websites. Some of those websites are popular directories. You might consider something like a Yellow Pages that's going to have your listing, talk about your basic products or services, and it's going to link back to your website. That's one easy one. There are other ones, like your social media pages, all having references back. And then some of them are based on your type of business, right? So if you're a hotel, having a listing on TripAdvisor, having a listing on Yelp, if you're a restaurant, those sorts of considerations are all factors for every business. Besides those sort of international considerations, there are also more local considerations. And obviously, because we're talking about local search, some of these local considerations are even more important. A local consideration might be something like your local chamber of commerce or a local community page that includes lists of businesses that are in the area. Google's making the assumption that the more of these types of citations that exist, the more prominent and well-known your business must be. Besides just actual links coming back to your website, any chatter about your business is also going to indicate that you do what you say you do. So chatter could be, again, like on a TripAdvisor site where people are talking about your hotel or your resort or your restaurant. It could be people on Yelp talking about it. It could be people on social media talking about it. It could be other community areas where there are forums of people discussing businesses that mention your business. All of those are just good indications that you are who you say you are and that you are active in those areas. And each one of these citations, whether they be an actual link or a discussion or chatter, are all going to contribute to helping you show up a little bit higher in those Google search results. The last factor, and an increasingly important and obvious factor, would be reviews. Numbers of reviews. Even though you might want to have a whole bunch of 5-star reviews, numbers of reviews are important because Google is going to assume that if you have more reviews, then you must be doing more business. Obviously, if you're doing more business, you can't be doing terrible business all the time because then nobody would actually use you. Google My Business reviews are not the only reviews that are important. However, obviously because we're talking about Google search, Google My Business reviews are extremely important and probably the most important. Besides Google My Business reviews, though, you could talk about Facebook reviews, also super important. Any reviews on directories that you utilize, if you use your hands and you're a plumber and you use a Home Advisor, or you do landscaping and use a Home Advisor or an Angie's List, reviews from those websites are also really, really important. Yelp reviews can be important. TripAdvisor reviews can be important. Since reviews are so important, having a good review strategy is super important if you want to do well in local search. So again, while being close to the customer is always going to be the number one factor in these searches, having the other things together, having your act organized in terms of making sure that you do what you say you do, making sure that your products and services are clearly spelled out in your Google My Business listing and in your website, and then also making sure that your business is prominent using local citations and having people review your business prominently are all factors that can help you show up higher than businesses that are closer. We've done local search optimization for dozens of companies in the last few months, and every time we do it, we see a spike in organic search. This spike means more eyeballs in your company. So if you're doing good business, having more eyeballs in your company should lead to more money for your business. As a small business owner or administrator of a small business, you owe it to yourself to make these optimizations. They're pretty easy to make. You can do them on your free Google My Business listing, your free social media accounts. They're obviously not expensive, but they will make a huge difference in how well you do online. If you're having trouble competing locally because you just haven't been in business long enough, or because location is such a super important factor in that particular business or industry, you can pay for ads that will help you show up a little bit higher in the search. When you pay for ads, obviously you're guaranteeing a spot in the search results page. By paying for the ad, you obviously don't need to be the closest business to that customer. So if you keep following Basement Marketing, you're going to learn a lot more about local search. We're going to talk about Google My Business a little bit more and how to optimize there. We're going to talk about all these factors. But hopefully now after this video, you know a little bit more about local search so you can help your business put your best foot forward online. Local search is one of the number one things we do at Basement Marketing. It's one of the most important services for any local business looking to do well online. If you're having a little bit of trouble, you need a little bit of help, please contact us. We're always willing to give you a little bit of free advice, and obviously, if you want to give us a little bit of money, we'll help a ton more.